Okay, so welcome everybody to the first class in this Bhagavad Gita study series with a special emphasis as Yoga Shastra. By the way, can you all hear me okay? Is it audible? Okay, fantastic. Um, so I think this is like a bi-weekly study, 1 hour, and I believe it'll take approximately 2 years at this rate. Um, There are some shlokas which are more important, so we'll lay more emphasis. There are other portions where we may go through quickly. Um, and what I'm doing is I'm using Swami Paramatmananda's discourses as like the reference. He is one of the authorities in Vedanta, and his rendering is crystal clear. There's no confusion. Everything is very precise. And even other swamis who've studied in the same batch as he did under Chinmayananda and Dayananda, they think he is a genius. So I resonate with his talks. So I follow his discourses. And one of the important things when we are studying these kind of texts is to adhere to tradition, which means if there is something that I do not understand very well, so I'll just tell you instead of trying to add my own version, because that may not be true. But for most of the cases, he has given very thorough explanation. Even in places, we'll see many places where Krishna plays these tricks. It can be seemingly confusing, but he's doing to assuage people. So we will, and the explanations have to be interpreted in that light. Okay. So typically, before we start a Gita study, there is something called a Gita Dhyanam. Dhyanam is meditation. So by chanting, your mind calms down and it's in a good frame to study the Gita. So those who know, they can chant. Please keep your mics muted. So even when we are chatting, we'll just chant. Only one person will chant to avoid the echo. Otherwise, if many people are chanting, everything will look a little scary. So keep your mics muted. So I will just chant. If you know, you can just chant with your mics muted, or you can just um, look at the words and try to understand the meaning. Okay, so we will go ahead and get started with the Gita Dhyanam. Om Partaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Kratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashatyayiniim Amba Tvamanusantatami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshini. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullaravindayata Patranetra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetaikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamrutaduhe Namaha. Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogda Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsas Sudhir Pokta Dugdam Gitamritam Mahat Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. So this is an invocation, and the tradition we're following here is Shankaracharya's tradition, which most people consider to be the most thorough and authentic. Um, Shankaracharya, there's a debate. If you ask people in the Shankara matams, he established these mats in different parts. These are monasteries. The leaders there, they interpret that he lived somewhere around 500 BCE, before Common Era. But some people interpret that he lived around 700 Common Era, CE. So it's not really known when he lived, but he lived only for 32 years. He came very quickly, when at a time when the Sanatana Dharma was becoming very ritualistic. He um, he interpreted the Vedas and gave the essence to people. So he wrote a lot of commentaries, simplifying the understanding and making it thorough. And his commentary doesn't have any contradictions. If you see other commentaries, two things there, it'll be self-contradictory, many of the other commentaries. And Shankaracharya is such a genius. In 32 years, he wrote the commentaries for all the major Upanishads and the texts in the Sanatana Dharma. And his style he has a very unique style. Such confidence. He will talk with such confidence, and the words he would use. Some people may be familiar with Bhaja Govindam, a song. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. So it goes as a grammarian who thinks he's a genius because he knows all the rules of Sanskrit grammar. He gets overconfident, and Shankaracharya tells him, "You idiot, this is not going to save you at the time of death." Mudamate, muda means a deluded one, a person who's basically an idiot. That's what it means. So this is his style. He's very confident and very thorough. That is Shankaracharya. So we will have a small invocation to Shankaracharya. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutations to the lineage starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankara in the middle, and continuing up to my immediate teacher. Okay. So, and if you have questions, feel free to ask me. In this, the first study, this is not a class, we are learning together, so it's a study. What we will do is, we will give a context for Mahabharata, how it's, and the Gita, how Gita comes in the Mahabharata, what it is all about. And then we will very briefly touch upon the first chapter. The actual starting of the Gita, the teaching of the Gita starts with the 11th shloka of the 11th or the 12th shloka of the second chapter. So we will just skim the first chapter and then jump into the second chapter. Okay. How many of you are somewhat familiar with the Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata? You can just raise your hand. Okay, a few people. So I'll give a very short overview. So the Mahabharata, the Bharata dynasty of the king Bharata, which culminates in a great war, the war of the Mahabharata. It was originally named Jaya, which means victory. And Vyasa is the person who compiled, organized the Vedas. He's called Veda Vyasa for that reason. Legend goes that he narrated it, and Ganesha, he wrote it down. Ganesha had one condition though. He said, I am such a fast writer. Therefore, if you want me to write, he told Vyasa, you should never stop. And Vyasa was compiling the whole thing in his mind and reciting. So it's a tough job. And there are 100,000 shlokas in Mahabharata. And Vyasa agreed. But of course, it's tiring, right? Sometimes Vyasa needed a break. So what Vyasa, he did a trick. He added a lot of what are called Granthi slokas. Granthi means knot. And Vyasa says there are only 3 people who can understand, or only 2 people who can understand the Granthi slokas well. One is, of course, himself. Other is his son, Shankaracharya, an absolute, he is a liberated person. Then Vyasa also says there's a third person who has such a pure mind who can possibly understand. That is Sanjaya. And Sanjaya is the person who narrates the Bhagavad Gita as it happened to the blind king Dhritarashtra. And this is because of the divine eye given by Vyasa. So we'll come to that in a minute. But anyway, so that is the scenario of how the Mahabharata was recited. So Mahabharata got recited, but nobody knew about it. Then one day, after all the war, the legend goes that war was over. So Arjuna is the person to whom Krishna recites the Bhagavad Gita, the greatest warrior, fearless warrior on earth at that time. So Arjuna, then Arjuna's son Abhimanyu, Abhimanyu's son is Parikshit, Parikshit's son is Janamejaya, the great king. And once Janamejaya came to know how his father died. His father is Parikshit. Parikshit, once when he went hunting, he was very thirsty. So he came upon a hermitage, and there was a rishi, a yogi, sitting in deep meditation. So he was so thirsty, and he asks the yogi, can you please give me some water? The yogi was deep in meditation, and he was not aware of the king. The king got so frustrated, Parikshit, the king, got very frustrated. With his bow, he takes a dead snake as an insult and wraps it around his neck. And he leaves. When the yogi's son comes and sees this, he was just aghast. He was so mad. And with his divine insight, he was able to know who did this. It was this king. So he curses. In 7 days, you will die from the bite of this terrible snake, most poisonous snake called Takshaka. So, and after 7 days, he does die. But Parikshit says, I am the luckiest person because I know I will live for 7 days. All other people, we don't know, we can die the next moment. So, and Parikshit, he learns the entire, the Bhagavad Shankaracharya narrates the Bhagavata, Purana, everything. That's a separate story. So, and Janamejaya, when he comes to know that this is how it was hidden from him, this information, because people were worried that he would get very upset and do something, but he comes to know that this is how his father died. Then he wants to take revenge on all snakes. So he conducts the Sarpasatra Yaga, in which he creates a fire and gets all the snakes. With the power of all the yogis, the rishis, he gets all the snakes into the fire, to die into the fire. And from here and there, from earth, all the snakes, they're just lifted and they start falling into the fire. Takshaka gets very scared. He runs to Indra and wraps himself around Indra's leg. And the power of this yaga being so high, even Indra, the king of the gods, gets pulled. So everybody is terrified. Indra is heading towards the fire with Takshaka wrapped on his leg. And at this time, Vyasa comes to that yaga, this big fire ceremony. And he says, don't do this. And he stops Janamejaya from doing this. And at that time, he says, I will give you the condensation of knowledge contained in the Vedas. Veda is considered Shruti. It is revealed knowledge to the rishis. So, and he doesn't want to recite the Mahabharata. He tells Vaishampayana, his disciple, to recite the Mahabharata. So in Mahabharata, here and now and then, you will hear the word Vaishampayana. In fact, we'll study there are 5 gems in Mahabharata. One of them is Vishnu Sahasranamam, the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. And it starts with Shri Vaishampayana Uvacha Shrutva Dharmana Sechena Pavanani Cha Sarvashah Yudhishthirashchantanavam Punarevapyabhashata. So he narrates the Yudhishthira again came to Bhishma, and that's how the Vishnu Sahasranama goes. But Vaishampayana is the narrator. He narrates this is how the entire world came to know of Mahabharata. Okay, and the Bhagavad Gita, that portion is narrated by Sanjaya. So there's a great war that happens, war between cousins. And there are 101 brothers on one side, and there are the 5 Pandavas. One of them is Arjuna on the other side. So right from childhood, envy started coming in to the 101 brothers, the eldest of whom is Duryodhana. And Duryodhana's name itself, Du, means bad, somebody with bad qualities. I don't know if that was his real name or the name given to him. But Duryodhana, he is full of envy, jealousy, all the bad qualities. But his father was so fond of him. And that's where all the mistakes happened. The blind king Dhritarashtra. So the war, what had happened was, for those who don't know about Mahabharata, these 101 brothers, they tried to kill these 5 brothers. Both were cousins, the 2 parties. They tried to kill, and they did a lot of bad things, disrobing their wife, Panchali, Draupadi, all in the public, and Krishna comes and saves her. So all these bad things happened, and they exile them into the forest. They take everything away from them. Then these 5 brothers, they ask, you, even if you don't give us a kingdom, give us 5 villages. He says, no. Give us 5 homes in one village. He says, no. Okay, give us 1 home with 5 rooms. Thus Duryodhana says, no. And that is when they decided, okay, the righteous thing to do is to fight. And Krishna also says, you have to fight a battle. And that's how the battle starts. And before the battle, Vyasa comes, and since Dhritarashtra is blind, he tells Vyasa, I want to know what will happen in the battle. I'm not able to see. Please help me. Then Vyasa gives the divine eye to Sanjaya. And why does he give to Sanjaya? Because Sanjaya is such a pure person. Sanjaya is a charioteer, assistant to the blind king. And he gives him this Divya Chakshuhu, divine eye, to Sanjaya, so he could see what goes on in the battlefield. And Sanjaya narrates the entire Bhagavad Gita to Dhritarashtra. That's what we are studying now. So every now and then you'll see Sanjaya Uvacha. So this is what happens. And Duryodhana, he is a bad guy. But where Krishna, many times, he tries to avoid the battle. He goes as a messenger. He tries to broker peace. Duryodhana, once he says, Janami dharmam nachame pravrittihi, janami adharmam nachame nivrittihi. I know what dharma is. I know what righteous action is. Yet I cannot embrace it. This is a very famous sloka. Okay, I know what adharma is, what non-righteous action is, but I am not able to let go of it. So he knows his fault. And later in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna will ask this very important question. Atakena pravrityoham papam charati purushaha anichannapi varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. What compels a person to commit these bad actions? And even though anichan, you don't desire, icha is desire, you don't desire to do bad action. Anichanapi varshneya, varshneya Krishna, baladiva niyojitaha. It's so strong, the impulse to do these bad actions. What is that that forces a person to do all this? And then Krishna says, Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma viddehamiha vairinam mahashana. It's like a burning desire. Kama, lust; krodha, anger. Kama esha krodha esha, and they are born out of rajoguna samudbhavam. You'll see that in the 3rd chapter. So Duryodhana knows all this, but he still commits. Okay. Now we saw Vishnu Sahasranama as one gem. There are 5 gems in the Mahabharata. Mahabharata is a itihasa. Itihasa means iti. Thus it happened. That's what it means. Iti asi. It was thus. It happened exactly. That's what it means. It's one of the 2 itihasas, Ramayana and Mahabharata. So it is a condense a Veda told as a story for common people. And there are 5 gems in the Mahabharata. I'm just telling it in this order. It's not like one is more important. The order first comes Yaksha Prashna. This I taught in the mythology and symbolism behind asanas class. A crane asks questions. This is actually Yamadharma, the Lord of Death. So the Lord of Death, Yama, is considered the Lord of Dharma or fairness. Yama Dharma Raja. So he asks many questions, about 39 or 40 questions to Yudhishthira. And Yudhishthira answers all of this. So it is to test his own son, Yudhishthira. So these 5 Pandavas, they were born with the blessing of the gods, different gods. Yudhishthira was born due to the blessing of Yama, Arjuna with Indra, then the Bhima with the wind god, Vayudeva. So that's why he was so strong. And then the Nakula and Sahadeva with the grace of the Ashwini Kumaras. They were very beautiful in that way. Arjuna was also a very handsome person. So Yaksha Prashna, Vidura Niti. Vidura is the brother of the blind king Dhritarashtra. He is also an amsham of a form of Yama. So the legend, okay, before I tell, Mahabharata has sukshmams, a lot of intricate parts. If I open one story, it'll lead to another story. There will be 7 stories going in parallel. So I can very easily get lost into the story. But Vidura Niti, it's uttered by Vidura. And Vidura, I'll just say this, he is a form of Yama, the Lord of Death and the Lord of Dharma. And how did he get into this? Into this form? Because he had a curse from Animandava, a rishi. And this rishi curses Yama that you will be born as a mortal. And this is why it happened. And why that happened? Because Yama, he gave a punishment to Animandava for what Animandava did in his previous life, which is he impaled an insect when he was a little child without knowing. And because of that, he was impaled in a spike. but because of his yogic powers, nothing happened to him. And then he curses Yama. So this is how it happened. Anyway, it's a small digression just to give you a story and keep it lively. So Vidura is the brother of the blind king, Dhritarashtra. Then Sanat Sujatiyam, that's another one, by Sanat Sujata, the rishi. Here, everybody advises Dhritarashtra, the blind king, but because of his attachment for Duryodhana, he does all the wrong things. Then the Bhagavad Gita, which we'll study, and Vishnu Sahasranamam. Sahasra is 1,000, Namam names, the 1,000 names of Vishnu. This is considered one of the holiest of recitations in the Sanatana Dharma. In the Charaka Samhita, for those you know, is one of the primers of Ayurveda. Okay, Ashtanga Hridayam Charaka Samhita, written thousands of years ago. In the end, one of the things, so there are different kinds of diseases: Adi Bhautika, Adhyatmika from inside, Adi Bhautika from outside, then Adi Devika, which is causes not known. You don't know what the cause is. But it's karma, basically. And then in the Charaka Samhita, it says, if nothing cures, then utter Vishnu Sahasranamam. That's what it says. So that is how powerful this is. Anyway. Okay. So, as I said, now we'll come to the setting of the Bhagavad Gita. Any questions so far? Because I'm just going, is the pace okay, or am I telling too many things that's confusing for people who don't have an idea of Mahabharata? Yes, Sumitra.
And now when you said Granthi Shloka, it means coded, is it?
Granthi is a knot. So Grantham is a book. Granthi, it's a knot. So it is a naughty verse. Knotty. It's also a naughty verse because it confuses us.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
I had a request. You know, the two shlokas you mentioned, Duryodhana and Arjuna, I can repeat it, but can you either put it on the chat or send it to us just so that we can explore? I'm so amazed that the impulsivity, compulsivity, all those were addressed so way back then. So
Janami dharmam nachame pravritti, janami adharmam nachame nivritti. I cannot let go of that. Yeah. And what what he does, I haven't put it here. And this Ishvara inside me, which resides in me, it makes me do all these things. But that is not true. There is this element of Krishna very clearly. Okay, now I'm getting into another side track. There is a Rishi, Uddhava Gita. It's a recitation. It comes towards after the war, where Uddhava, a great Rishi, comes and blames Krishna. Because of you, all these people died. Hundreds of thousands of people. So you are to blame for all this. So, and he kind of tricks Krishna into admitting that Krishna was the cause. He says, okay, what caused them all to die? It is their karma. And what caused their karma? It is their previous janma, whatever they did. So karma janma. And what about their first janma? Who did it? And then it said Ishvara. Then he says, Krishna, you are the cause of all this. You are the one who's responsible for all this. So he gets very upset with Krishna. And then Krishna gives him a long lecture. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha matta smritirnyanam apohanamscha vedaischa sarve ahameva vedyaha vedanta krit veda videva chaham. So sarvasya chaham hridi, I reside in the heart of all beings, but there is an element of discretion whether to do good or not. Matta smriti, from me comes smriti, memory, and apohanamscha, forgetfulness also. But it is the person's individual discretion. So he very beautifully explains in this Bhagavad Gita. And then this Uddhava falls at the feet of Krishna, and he asks for forgiveness. And what does Krishna then? And he says, I have one more desire. Krishna is trying to go to Dwaraka. He's in a rush, and this all happened after he falls at his feet. Please, I have one more desire. What is it? I want to see the Vishwarupa Darshana, your celestial form. And then he shows it to Uddhava. So that's what happened. Anyway, that's a digression. We'll get back to the Bhagavad Gita, the setting. So I thought initially I'll do this introduction and we'll cover 10 verses of the second chapter, but let's see how far we get. Okay, everybody, any other questions? Everybody okay? Is the space okay for everyone? Hopefully I'm not confusing or boring. Anyway, okay, the setting of the Bhagavad Gita. So the war between the 101 cousins of the Pandavas. So these are the Kauravas. The 101 are the Kauravas. The 5 are the Pandavas. Strictly speaking, they all come in the Kuru dynasty. Everybody is Kaurava. Kaurava means who comes in the Kuru dynasty. But these are called Pandavas, the 5 Pandavas, and the 101 Kauravas, huge armies. We'll look at the numbers. It'll be mind-boggling. It's all given in the Mahabharata. Then, before the start of the war, Arjuna says, okay, Krishna, place the chariot in the middle of the 2 armies. I want to get an overview. Arjuna is the superhero with all the celestial weapons, the greatest archer in the world. Nobody equal to him. Arjuna, in fact, defeated all these people, the entire thing, single-handedly. Arjuna gets a curse to that his gender will change from Indra's wife. So during 1 full year, he became a transgender. From a man, he becomes a woman. And as a transgender person, Arjuna fights a battle with all these people single-handedly. Everybody, they faint at his arrows. That is how powerful he is. Single-handedly, he just vanquished all of them. And to prove that he vanquished all of them, he takes they all fainted. He takes the crown on their head from everybody and gives it to the king that he was staying with. So that is how powerful Arjuna is. So Arjuna asks Krishna as his charioteer, because Krishna says, I'm not going to take sides. He has 2 offerings. So both Duryodhana and Arjuna ask him, so Krishna, please fight for us. Then Krishna says, I'm not going to fight. I'll do 2 things. I'll be a charioteer to one side, or I'll give my great army. It's a huge army. The entire army I'll give to the other side. Arjuna gets the first request, so he can make the first request because he came earlier. And Arjuna says, I will take you as a charioteer. And Duryodhana was very pleased. I'm getting a huge army. And then Duryodhana, at the instigation of his evil uncle Shakuni, asks for one more thing. Shakuni says, you idiot, why did you do this? Shakuni tells Duryodhana, Krishna has he's God himself. If he raises his weapons, none of you stand any chance. So then Duryodhana goes and asks Krishna again, I want one more promise. You should not use any weapon. And Krishna says, no problem. I will not use any weapon. So he is just a charioteer. Okay, so Krishna is a charioteer. For Arjuna, the greatest warrior, he positions his chariot in the middle of the 2 huge armies. And this is where the Bhagavad Gita starts. And why was the Bhagavad Gita taught? So Krishna himself tells this in the Bhagavad Gita. Imam vivasvate yogam proktavanaham avyayam vivasvan manave praha manur ikshvakave bravit. He says, this Vedas, it was taught long time ago to the sun god Vivaswan, who passed it to Manu. Manu instructed it to Ikshvaku. These are all great kings, many thousands of years ago, according to the mythology. Evam parampara praptim imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogat nashta parantapa. But this knowledge, which was received by the great rishis in the deep meditation, the Vedas, the Shruti, what was revealed to them, with the passage of time, it got lost. So, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. Whenever there is decline of righteousness and there is confusion, bad things happen, tadatmanam asrujamaham pavitranaya sadhunam vinashaya sa duskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I take birth now and then whenever there's a decline of righteousness to establish dharma in the world, Krishna says. So the entire Bhagavad Gita was taught because of this, to revive the knowledge in the Vedas in an easy to understand form. So I've been talking about Veda. So the entire Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the essence of the Vedas, the revealed scriptures, revealed to the rishis in their deep meditation. The Veda has, in general, it has no authorship. Some of it has authors. Atharvana Veda, Atharva is a rishi, but most of it has no authorship, because they know that if you put a name, it creates problems. The initial portion of the Veda is called Veda Purva, or the Karma Kanda. It gives a lot of rituals, good diet, all these things to purify the mind for knowledge. The latter portion of the Veda is called Veda Antaha. Purva means beginning, Anta means end. Purva Uttanasana, probably those who know Ashtanga Gary would know this. That means beginning, Purva Uttanasana. So Anta is end. Vedanta, that's where the word Vedanta comes from. It's also called Upanishads, that's sitting near the teacher to learn. Swami Paramatmananda, he'll have a joke. There's some people who would come and tell him, Swamiji, I've read the entire Vedanta. I've also read the Upanishads, but I have a few questions. Then Swamiji will say, well, think this person knows neither Vedanta nor Upanishads, because they're one and the same thing. So Vedanta and Upanishads, these are interchangeable. It means one and the same. This contains knowledge of the self. So the way it is done this way is even all the asanas, everything, meditation we do, is to make the mind settled so that it can receive these subtle knowledge. So that is why it is organized this way. So the Jnana Yoga, or the knowledge of the self, that comes in the Vedanta portion. Okay? The Bhagavad Gita is very unique. It encompasses many things. So if you see how every chapter ends, it ends in this format. Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Sankhya Yogo Namaha Dvitiyodhyaya. What it says is that thus in this glorious Bhagavad Gita, which is a condensation of the Upanishads. And what is it? It is a knowledge of the Brahman. Brahman refers to, it's Nirguna Brahman. It refers to this entity pervading everything, which you can call God or whatever. which has no attributes. It is the supreme thing, which is responsible. It has no origin, nothing. That is Brahman. Don't mistake it with Chaturmukha Brahma, the creator. That's a mythological entity. But Brahman refers to the all-pervading God, or whatever you can call it. So it is a Brahma Vidya, knowledge of the Brahman. It is a Yoga Shastra. The Shastra means an authoritative scripture. Shas has two meanings, teach and also rule. The first sutra of Yoga Sutras, Ata Yoga Anushasanam. Anushasanam means following the discipline of yoga. Now we learn the discipline of yoga. That's what it means. So Shas means teach, or it means rule. So Shas, the word tra means to protect. So Shastra here means the teaching that protects. That is the Shastra. Or it is the authoritative scripture on a topic. So Bhagavad Gita is a Yoga Shastra. So there are two Yoga Shastras. One is the Yoga Sutras. The other is the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So it can be viewed from many different angles. So now the common question, people, Irina was telling me that there are many books on Bhagavad Gita, many interpretations. They all say something different. One says it's bhakti, another says yoga, skill in action, because it's urging Arjuna to fight. Other says it's meditation, values to lead life by. It's also said the Veda Purva, which gives a lot of values, what kind of foods to eat. All that is covered here too. So that aspect is also covered. Or is it the nature of the Brahman, Ishvara? Which of this is it? If you see, according to Shankara, in essence, the main message is very simple. It is the nature of the Atma. It is a text on the essential nature of the Atma. All the others are just on the side. This is what Swami Paramatmananda says in his discourse, as told by Shankaracharya. Now, you saw there's so many yoga, this yoga, bhakti yoga, that yoga, this yoga, karma yoga, raja yoga, so many yogas, right? But in reality, there are only two yogas. Everything falls under this. And Krishna, how do we know? Krishna very clearly says that in the Bhagavad Gita, the 3rd chapter. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Lokesmin Dvivida Nishta Pura Prokta Maya Naga Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. Bhagavan is Krishna. So it's throughout the Bhagavad Gita, this is how he'll be addressed, as Bhagavan, the Lord. He says, O sinless one, to Arjuna, Maya Anaga, one who has no blemishes. The twofold committed lifestyle in this world was told by me in the beginning. The pursuit of knowledge, Jnana Yoga, for those who are able to be a little more detached, and the pursuit of action for those who pursue activity, for the most of us. So Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Now the confusion will come. So Karma Yoga is to make the mind fit for knowledge. Meditation, asana practice, everything comes here. Jnana Yoga is this ultimate knowledge of the Atma. So just book knowledge is one thing, but really understanding it's all the forms that requires the mind to be very settled. That's why meditation is important. Jnana Yoga is the one which causes ultimate liberation. In fact, Arjuna says, if you're telling that Jnana Yoga is better than Karma Yoga, why are you asking me to fight this war? But then Krishna clarifies, it is not that Jnana Yoga is better than Karma Yoga. It is like middle school and high school. Karma Yoga is like middle school, all the foundation. High school is what you need for graduation, right? Which is important. Both are important. Without middle school, you can't go to high school. So that's the example Swamiji gives. So Karma Yoga is to make the mind fit for knowledge, Jnana Yoga for ultimate liberation. All other things fall in these two. Study of scriptures, everything is Jnana. Karma includes meditation, bhakti, everything. Bhakti, the wise person can also have bhakti. In fact, Krishna says, of all the 4 types of people, Chaturveda bhajante mams, Jana Sukritino Arjuna, Artho Jignasu Artati, Jnani cha Bharatarshaba. 4 kinds of people, those who are afflicted, those who are in pain, they come and worship me. Those who want money, they come and worship me. Then those who want knowledge, they come and worship me. And then the jnani, the one who's already known everything, that person, he or she also worships. Of these 4, tesham jnani nitya yuktaha ekabhaktir vishishyate. The knowledgeable person is whom I consider to be the highest bhakta. So Krishna says that. Any questions so far? I've been talking. Anybody? No questions? Okay. All right. Now, so if you see a lot of these commentaries, the 18 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, it can be very disparate without lose some bhakti, karma, yoga, karma, sukhaushalam. There are many definitions for yoga. One is yoga, skill in action. So it can look very confusing. That is why you need a super genius to interpret and give a simple explanation. Shankara is that person. So this is how he interprets. The content of the Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 shatkams. Shat means 6. Shatkams means 3 portions of 6 chapters each. Okay? Traya Shatkam. And these shatkams follow the Mahavakyam, the great equation. This Mahavakyam is used in the Upanishads. You find it used many times in the Chandogya Upanishad. It says, Tat Tvam Asi. Thou art that. That's what it means. You can rewrite it. Tat is that. Tvam is you. Asi is connecting. You are that. Okay. You can rewrite it as Tvam, Tat, Asi. Tvam is you. Tat is that. Asi means equals. Is. The first 6 chapters, the first Shatkam focuses on Tvam, you, that is us, which is the Jiva, the Atma. Full of it, Atma, 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 Atma. Or the Jiva, Dehi, many names. The second Shatkam, so the first Shatkam, no God. Second Shatkam is Tat, Ishvara. God, 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 God. God, oh God, all God. Okay. So on the third Shatkam is Asi, the relationship, the equal to sign between the two. So the two are related according to Vedanta. So the first Shatkam further subdivided into 3 aspects. So if you follow this division, Bhagavad Gita study becomes so easy, very clear, it follows a consistent order. It's not like jumbled topics, this jumping to here, that. No, it's very clear. So the first Prathama Shatkam talks about the nature of the Jiva, Jiva Swarupam, the Atma. There are 5 points, the nature. We'll study that in the coming classes. It is the most, if you understand that, things will be very clear. Your life will also be much more easier, because that when you study Vedanta, it gives a big picture, and that helps us lead a life with a lot more ease. That's the practical aspect why people study. So, nature of the jiva, karma yoga, meditation, all these things to purify the mind. In fact, when Krishna uses yoga, he just refers to karma yoga. Yogi for Krishna is a meditator. Then the importance of individual effort, prayatna, or free will. Swamiji, he gives this in the 6th chapter, very clearly Krishna says, Uddaredatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaivatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripu atmanaha. Atma. In the 6th chapter, we did a study, a workshop, Yoga Arudam, some time back, and we studied the 6th chapter. It's full of Atma. Atma. So here what it means, Uttared Atma Atmanam, lift your Atma by the self, by your mind, body, senses, lift it. Don't put it down. Atma eva Atmano bandhuhu. Your mind and all these things, Atma there, it's a self, is the friend of the Jiva. And this, all the mind and everything could also be the enemy. Ripuhu means enemy of the Atma, the Jiva. So the importance of individual effort or prayatna is important. And then, but this is because a lot of people say, my fate is sealed. Whatever I do, it'll happen. I don't have to do. So Krishna very clearly says, you have prayatna, effort. But you also need Ishvara Anugraha, divine grace, which comes in the 2nd chapter. In the 18th chapter, Krishna says this, the actions, the success in action, there are a lot of things you need. Adhishtanam tata karta karanam cha pritagvidam vividascha pritak cheshtaha daivam chaiva prapanchamam. So this is a very important verse which comes later in the 18th chapter. To do success in any action, you need adhishtanam, the body, the karta, the ego, that's the instrument, adhishtanam tata karta karanam, the motive, then vividascha pritak cheshta, that is the prana, you need the prana. And finally, the 5th factor is daivam, which is divinity. So that you need that we can call karma or whatever it is, that is also needed. Daivam chaiva panchamam, the 5th. Okay. So in the middle shatkam, Ishvara Swarupam, the nature of Ishvara, gives the cosmic vision, the Vishwarupa Darshanam. It happens in this middle portion. Ishvara Dhyanam, meditation on the Ishvara, and Ishvara Kripa or Anugraha, divine grace. Okay, this is the middle Shatkam. And the Charama Shatkam, the ultimate, Charama means ultimate, the final, talks about the essential oneness of the Jiva and the Ishvara. Jiva, Ishvara, Swarupa, Aikyam, the oneness. One of the analogies that is given in Vedanta is the wave ocean analogy. We'll see that repeatedly. The wave is water, ocean is water. It is superficially different, wave and ocean. But in essential, the wave comes, it goes. It's born, it dies, but it is water. So that is how the Jiva and Ishvara are. Jivatma is essentially consciousness, Chaitanyam. Oops. Paramatma is essentially consciousness, Chaitanyam. Aham Brahmasmi. This is very often quoted. Aham, this Jiva is essentially the nature, is essentially Brahman. But because of the ignorance and all these things, it doesn't know that. Then the other two things that are covered in the Charamashakam are Jnana Yoga, the realization for the wave that it is water. Wave thinks it's another wave, brother wave, sister wave, friend wave, all that. That's how it associates. But once it realizes that it's water, then it's different. Then virtues or Satgunas. In the 16th and 17th chapter, it's covered in detail. Okay. Any questions so far? I hope it's not confusing because there's a lot of things. I'm trying to pack it in one class and give it. Yes, Sumitra.
Anna, is the prayatna or can it also be considered as swadhyaya, self-study?
Nope. So yatna means effort. Pra is a prefix. It means proper effort. So in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, Swadhyaya is different. Swadhyaya is study of the scriptures. Swa Adhyaya, that is study of the scriptures leading to the self. But yeah, it's kind of a lot of these things have a lot of overlap. So you can also, it just means effort. So it can be effort towards something, towards a study. Or doing asanas. Patanjali uses the word prayatna shaitalya ananta samapatibhyam. You put in effort, you squeeze your hand, let go, you go deep into relaxation. Prayatna, shaitalya is relaxation, shitali is cooling, relaxing. Ananta samapatibhyam, infinite bliss. Effort, let go. That is the concept of asana. So, the other important question that typically comes up, why is each chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, I told you there are 18 chapters. Why is each chapter considered yoga? First chapter goes Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the yoga of Arjuna's sorrow. Oh, I didn't even know there's a crying yoga. Then somebody is going to start a crying yoga. There are all kinds of yoga nowadays. There is from ganja yoga, drug yoga, all naked yoga, goat yoga, bear yoga. Oh, so this can also mean it will be another yoga. No, the word yoga means yujati iti yoga. What unites is yoga. Okay, it just means a collection, collection of topics on this. That's all it means. So Sankhya is yoga of knowledge, karma, yoga of action, all that, bhakti, so on and so forth. Okay. So it doesn't mean it's a separate yoga. It just means it's a collection. Then the other question, everything in the Mahabharata is 18 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters in the Mahabharata, 18 akshohanis or battle formations. Akshohani is a battle formation consisting of some 21,870 chariots, some that many elephants, then 109,350 infantry. So one Akshohini consists of some more than 200,000 warriors. There's all this ratio. So if you see all these numbers, they will add up to 18. So somehow the 18 is a very, people just, they have all kinds of interpretations for this 18. And there are 18 Akshohanis, 11 for the evil Duryodhana, the 101 brothers. Pandavas only had 7 Akshohanis. So they were outnumbered. Mahabharata has 18 lakh words, verses, it's not words. There are actually 18 lakh words, 1 lakh verses. Then the Gayatri 108 is the sacred number for the Gayatri repetition. And there are 1008 names in Vishnu Sahasranam. All of these Lalita Sahasranam, they all have 1008. So 18, the people also interpret. Our body has 18 aspects, 5 jnana indriyas, organs of the senses, eyes, ears, all that. 5 karma indriyas, organs of action, mouth, hands, feet, genitals, anus. 4-fold mind. There, I taught a class a couple of weeks ago on the yoga. There, we covered the 4 aspects of the mind. So, manas, buddhi, chitta, and ahankara. Then 3-fold gunas and 1 jiva. If you add all this, it comes to 18. So, you will see 18, 18, 18 everywhere. Okay. So we're getting towards the end. We're already 2 minutes over, but I will quickly cover 2 more aspects and stop here. So bear with me for 2 more minutes. Now, all the shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita, they follow a meter. There are 2 common meters used. Anushtup, which is the most common for normal things, and Trishtup. Trishtup is the more fancy meter. It shows a sense of urgency. Let's say during a Bhagavad Gita discourse, you fall, you're sleepy and you're starting to sleep. Suddenly the meter changes and you like wake up with a jolt. And that's why there's like a sensational thing happening. Krishna changes the meter, or Vyasa changes the meter to Trishtup. And Trishtup itself has variants. Now, so I love the Trishtup meter. I know all the Trishtup shlokas by heart. It's very easy to, where you will fall into the groove of the meter. But why can't all the meters, all the shlokas be in Trishtup? Because then it'll lose its sense of, or urgency or whatever it's trying to convey, right? So you need a differentiation. So most of the shlokas, 645 out of 700 are in Anushtup. Trishtup, 55 out of 700. Now, I will give you we'll cover all this, but I'll just give one example of Anushtup. Ya enam veti hantaram, yaschainam manyate hatam, ubau tauna vijanitaha, nayam hantina hanyate. If you count ya, ye, nam, veti, hantaram. So like that, if you count, there you'll count 32 syllables. Whereas in Trishtup, so 32 means 8, 8, 8, 8. Ya enam veti hantaram, yaschainam manyate hatam, ubau tauna vijanitaha, nayam hantina hanyate. So 8, 8, 8, 8, 32 syllables. It's all, everything is done in this way. In Trishtup, there are 44 syllables. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यश्शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. So if you count, न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित्, 11. Like that, if you do every line, you'll find 11, 11, 11, 11, 44 syllable. Okay. Now, the thing with the Gita is most people traditionally, they would memorize the shloka and only then they will understand the meaning. It has a way to settle the mind. It'll pop up in your subconscious, this tune. When you're agitated, this tune will come up and that will settle the mind. So that's why this meter, it is, all the shlokas are considered mantras, which means they have an effect of settling the mind. And that's why they are done in this tune. Okay, I'll take 1 more minute. The first chapter, so what happens in the first chapter, Swamiji will joke. Some people come to him and say, Swamiji, I understand the first chapter so very well. But the second chapter, I don't understand at all, because second chapter talks about the Atma. In the first chapter, everybody blows their own horns. All the Pandavas, they blow their horn, blowing their own trumpet, you can say. So, and then all they talk about the glories of each warrior. Or this all happens, and then Arjuna starts to cry. He complains, how can I kill Bhishma, my grandfather? How can I kill my teacher, Drona? And he starts lamenting. So I will just show one shloka to represent. He will again lament in the second chapter. So we'll study some of the lamenting, but I will just cover one famous shloka of Arjuna's despondency. It's not like he's afraid. He grew up on the lap of his grandfather Bhishma. How can I kill him? He's so confident. How can I kill this person? And Bhishma was the greatest warrior too, because he took a vow of brahmacharya, which means celibacy. Because of that, his powers grew so high. He could not be vanquished by anybody. That is the warrior. And Drona, who knows all the weapons, astras, he is the master. So Arjuna says, Arjuna uvacha drishtvevam swajanam Krishna yuyutsum samupastitam sidanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishusyati. Oh Krishna, Krishtva imam, these, having seen these swajanam, our own people, our own kinsmen, yuyutsam, arrayed for battle, samupastitam, here, just standing there. Sidanti mama gatrani, my limbs are just giving away, because it's not like Arjuna's actually, he's all this 13 years when he was in the forest, his fingers were twitching to hold the bow and just kill all these. But when he's seeing all his relatives, he's just shaking. He's not able to, it's not like he's afraid. He's shaking because he's guilty. He's filled with compassion for these people, because it's the same family, they're split. My limbs are sidanti mama gatrani, mukam cha paritushyati. My mouth is dry. Mukam here can be the face also, but here it refers to the mouth. My mouth is dry. So this is Arjuna's despondency. And with this, we are actually a few minutes over time. I will stop the recording. This is the end of the first class. Let me stop the recording.